Folks, good afternoon, good evening to some out there. It is Earthmaster here on the live stream with an update video on this beautiful Friday, August 27th, 2021, about 2 p.m. California time. I wish we had some of this coming our way, but maybe not all at once. There is a major storm in development right now. Hurricane Ida in the just entering into the Gulf area. You can see the well-defined eye already with this hurricane. This thing is forming very, very rapidly, and it's expected to track northwest, right smack dab into Louisiana, just shy to the west of New Orleans. Let's go ahead and check out this map here on the zoom.earth scale. Kind of shows the lower level winds along with the obviously the eye wall circulation here. It's currently looks like at about 80 miles per hour. Hurricane Category 1. This thing is going to pop up really quick as it enters into the Gulf of Mexico, and definitely will strengthen. It's got a little bit of time to strengthen as well. No resistance, no real shear issues that this thing's going to run across. So no doubt this thing's going to pump it up and be as bad as it can possibly be. I expect this thing to be no doubt a monster when it comes into the southern Louisiana area down here. New Orleans is sit right over here to the northeast a little bit. All sorts of warnings, or well, I should say watches up currently. Here's the watches around the New Orleans area and the southern Louisiana coastlines. These are watches right now: hurricane watch, storm surge watch. What else we got? High surf or flash flood watch. These will eventually come into a warning phase. This is kind of just a heads up. Something's coming. Be prepared. Once this comes into a warning, then that means that things are happening, or they are about to happen real soon. Looking at this path, once again, this thing's going to strengthen. It reaches Category 4 well before making landfall there in Louisiana. You can see the path here, that the area that we're kind of concerned about, just to the west of New Orleans. This is all lowland area. I remember being out there last year for Hurricane Laura. It's all low. Storm surge is going to be bad in this area. This hurricane hitting in this area, surprisingly, about 16 years to the date, as Hurricane Katrina. Remember that hurricane? That did quite a bit of damage, and that was only a Category 3 at landfall. A lot of storm surge issues with that hurricane 16 years ago, almost to this date. So Category 4, well before it makes landfall, and that is expected to hit landfall at Category 4 strength at 140 mile per hour winds, and then eventually drop down as it goes inland. Does this thing have a possibility of reaching Category 5 strength? Absolutely. We talked about this a little bit last night. They were just talking about maybe this thing's going to reach Category 3. And look at it. A day later, this thing's already forming ahead of time, gaining a rapid amount of energy and strength, and nothing in its way. No, I can't see anything that would kind of make this thing move in any different direction than what it's at right now, and that's directly in impacting the Louisiana coastline right there. Texas, I think you're saved from this storm, but the folks in Louisiana, man, definitely pay attention to what's going on. I'm sure you guys are. It's looking kind of scary. So Category 4, potentially Category 5. I think it will reach Category 5 strength before making landfall. That would be the worst case scenario, but these guys are up in the forecast. These guys are definitely up in the forecast from yesterday. Here is the latest information from the Weather Underground Hurricane Center as well on Hurricane Ida. Currently, these guys have it set at 70 mile per hour with gusts up to 85. Excuse me. Moving northwest at about 13 miles per hour. Kind of moving quickly, gaining some strength. 985 for the pressure. This thing's probably going to drop pretty good. These guys predicting Category 3 And Category 4 right before it makes landfall. Time frame on this Category 4 will be Sunday at about 11 a.m. So it's got a little bit of time before it makes landfall during the nighttime at about 11 p.m. it looks like, when it's expected to drop down to Category 1. But it's going to be, that Category 4 level is going to be right there as well. And then eventually it's going to weaken pretty quickly. But not a good scenario, folks. Category 4, 130, 156 mile per hour winds. Anything above 157 is Category 5 strength. The waters are warm out there in the Gulf. It's a beautiful area. I love it down there. Compared to the waters out here along the northern California coastline, it's like an iceberg out here. Temperature is in the low 60s for the water temperature. Out there, 80s. Pretty warm, kind of like getting into a bath. So we will be keeping a very close eye on that. It's definitely looking like it will create some havoc out there for the folks in the Louisiana area. Once again, there's all the watches and warnings, or mostly watches right now. These will eventually turn into warnings. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, pretty crazy, folks. So where's that satellite? Yeah, look at that well-defined eye already. That is pretty impressive. As it moves over land a little bit, these aren't really mountainous, not a whole lot of mountainous areas to create weakness with the storm. It's possible it could weaken just a tad bit as it moves inland over this land, but I don't think so. Not too much, because it's already ahead of time. It's already ahead of schedule as far as producing these wind speeds and this the pressure. Definitely will have plenty of time to strengthen up as it heads up to the north and northwest here. It's just, there's no shear that I could see anywhere that's going to prevent this thing from gaining potentially Category 5 strength levels. Let's see what these tropical tidbits, see what these guys predict here. Yep, there we go. Look at that path right there, guys. Check out that path. This is just the is this GFS? Yeah, GFS model predicting weather models. I use it all the time. The DAM models and the HRRR models, weather models, high resolution radar. But the GFS is pretty accurate too when it comes to tracking the storms. And this thing shows this thing taking that direct path right there. New Orleans is missing, just barely missing the maximum strength winds over here, and the most storm surge potential over here on the northeast side, eastern side over here. This is kind of where all the brunt of the energy is, if you will, in this area. New Orleans is just missing it, but you know, most models are predicting right smack dab just to the west. Okay, just like I showed you on this one right here, and the other one, I don't know where it went to. Yeah, this one right here, just to the west. But still, that doesn't mean areas to the east and to the west of the main eye wall aren't going to get in on a lot of the action. That's kind of why all these watches, the hurricane watch, is stretching all the way over here to the east, almost to the Texas border. And then we got hurricane warnings up here. Watch over here. Hurricane watch, tropical storm warning. Hurricane warnings in this area. Category 4 is no joke, folks. No joke. Gonna bring a bunch of rain and all sorts of storm surge with it. I'm definitely, I would love to have some of that here in California. Even just one hurricane would probably end our drought. I'm not even joking. But this is no joke, folks. This is a definite dangerous situation. This thing's going to, of course, obviously weaken as it hits the Louisiana coastline and then move up into well, off and about into the eastern part of the country. And it dissipates and goes away. But there's a lot at stake here. I think this thing's going to get Category 5, and we will be watching it very closely. I will be including it on the live stream, current conditions, that is, as far as the hurricane strength, wind, and whatnot. I will remove the solar activity temporarily until this storm passes the Louisiana area. I think it's pretty important to keep that information up and about on the live stream. So be on guard, folks. Be on guard. The earthquake department, let's go ahead and check out the earthquake department. A lot of activity ramping up in Hawaii over the last 12 hours or so, maybe 20 hours. Of course, the HVO, Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, kind of dropped the watch down, the orange watch level, to yellow. And hold on a second here, see what these guys are. Gotta make sure. 1 second here. See if I can find out. Oh, here we go. Kīlauea, I want to make sure. Yeah, it's still at yellow advisory. It was at watch, orange watch for a little bit, and then they dropped it down back to yellow because of lack of activity. But overnight and this morning, look what's happened. We've seen a swarm of activity kicking up again around the Kīlauea volcano in Hawaii, indicating magma movement on the obviously on the move once again. I'm sure these guys are watching it pretty closely. Within the last hour, we haven't seen too much earthquake activity, but it's still there. We're still getting a lot of magma movement just below the surface, and this continues. I expect the HVO to upgrade that back to orange again as far as the alert level. Kind of keep an eye on that. Whole lot of movement along the west coast as well. California getting in on a lot of the action, and a swarm of activity out in Utah. Let's go ahead and check out this swarm that's kicking up here into the Antelope Valley area. This area seen quite a bit of earthquake activity last night, including a 4.6. This was originally a 4.4. It did get upgraded by the USGS to a 4.6. This is a separate earthquake swarm of activity, separate from the movement over here to the west, kind of where the 6-pointer struck quite a few weeks ago. This swarm of activity, relatively shallow. Look at that, 4.6 it struck last night, negative 1.9 kilometers, and this thing has been reviewed, and it has been holding steady at that depth. That's kind of odd. And there's been a lot of activity, folks, here in this region. I think with this activity, the activity we're seeing inland, well inland over into Utah and Southern California, I think regionally this whole area right here is under quite a bit of stress and pressure. All the way up here into Washington too, seeing a little bit of movement and pressure increase. Let's check out the activity over here in Utah. Seeing a separate swarm here. Utah, who would have thought? Earthquake country, right? Quite a bit. 10 earthquakes, not as much as the Antelope Valley area, but this is kind of an interesting swarm to watch out here in the mountains. A little bit of activity up here to the northeast as well, into this mountain range. Yellowstone, pretty quiet for now. The Pacific Northwest getting in on a little bit of activity through the Cascades, some movement around Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, and up here around Mount Baker, all seeing some signs of a microquake activity. The Oregon volcanoes looking fairly quiet. Mount Hood down through Shasta and Mount Lassen, all quiet for now. No movement along the Cascadia that I can tell, or that's being registered. A little bit of activity around the geysers and some activity around Santa Rosa as well, along the Rogers Creek fault zone. This activity happening earlier today, just a couple small quakes, 2.5, lowest at 1.5 near St. Helena, right there. Down through the Bay Area, a little bit of movement along the Calaveras fault zone, nothing spectacular, and some activity around the creeping section of the San Andreas fault. Nothing big there. We did have a little shaker out and about near Lake Isabella, excuse me. Had a 3.9, holding steady at 3.9 earlier this morning. That's since kind of died down. A little bit of aftershock sequences there with a few microquakes and some movement up here around the Ridgecrest area as well. Southern California, not a whole lot going on. There's some scattered. Could have swore I just felt an earthquake. Kind of weird. I need to put my earthquake rock back up so I can see if it's moving or not. Just felt little wavy type motion for some reason. Let's see, Texas. Check out Texas. Holy smokes. A lot of movement here into the Pecos, Texas area. A lot of injection wells and pumping operations throughout the land, potentially creating weak spots, crustal weak spots out here, right? A little bit of energy being, I guess you could say, transferred to this region, and collapse of the areas down below the surface. It's quite a bit of movement here. We haven't seen it this much in the active range in a while. 18 earthquakes around this area. Nothing big, but it's definitely a size of seismic increase into the southwest. Some explosions out around the Oklahoma area. I'm guessing a quarry blast. The East Coast and New Madrid fault system very quiet for now. Hawaii, as we mentioned, quite the movement going on. Western part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, quiet. Jumbled up mix of activity throughout the Indonesia area and south of the Philippines, with some 4s and 5s kicking off, and some deep movement there. 561 kilometers for that 4.8, and another one almost 500 kilometers below the surface. Rest of the area, South America, pretty quiet. Mediterranean quiet as well, and seeing some activity around the South Sandwich Islands, but nothing spectacular at the moment. West Coast, be on guard just because of all the swarming going on. We got Hawaii showing volcanic movement, right? Magma movement. When the Pacific plate moves, that ultimately affects magma chambers and whatnot around the Hawaiian Islands. And it's looking like this pressure along the southwest over here, including the west coast of California, is something to watch as well. You can see all this movement stretching up all the way up into Utah. Yellowstone National Park. Let's check out the live seismographs. Pretty quiet, folks. No swarming going on. Just not time to make any noise yet, I guess. All right, folks. I'm going to jump off here, and I'm going to make a couple adjustments here on the live stream. I'm going to include Hurricane Ida information onto the top northwest corner of the live stream, and that will be updated. I think it updates every half hour or an hour. I can't remember exactly. And of course, as it gets strength, as it gains strength and gets closer to land, they update it a lot sooner, or a lot quicker, more often. So for now, have a good day, folks. Stay safe. Be on guard on the West Coast. Not for sure what's going on there in Yellowstone seismograph. That's kind of odd. Little signature there. Not for sure. That kind of looks odd. Doesn't look like earthquake activity. It just looks like somebody, I don't know what. Weird. Either way, Hawaii definitely showing activity still. You can see that earthquake activity in the Hawaii Kīlauea volcano region. This seismograph station very close to the current activity taking place underground with the magma movement at Kīlauea volcano. All right, folks, have a good day. We'll chat you guys a little bit later tonight with the update video on this beautiful party night, Friday night, later on. Peace.